Anecdotes for success. Level up with truth, meaning, trade-offs, perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is early for us. You can see I've seen the light over in the
The,
corner of my screen. I had to adjust.
the
You've been
daylight,
doing
but I'm always so much more energized in the morning. I'm it's weird. I'm like and it's funny. I talk to people, like people will talk about this, like are you productive in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, that kind of thing. And I think I'm like quite productive early. And by early, I'm kind of a late riser. I'm not one of these 5 or 6 a.m. Not like you, but when I get up, let's call that early. And then the afternoon, I'm down, not down. Well, I'm just not as productive. I'm not feeling. I don't feel like my brain turns as much. And then in the evenings when I like grind, I like grind till last night I was up till 11 doing stuff, 11:30, and a lot of time it's not like the thought provoking things as much, but that's when I feel like I grind. I don't know.
No, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm up early. I get my walk run in and lifting in, and I have to go work as a humble public servant. Uh, and then I don't have a time for the afternoon crash because I'm usually coaching, playing golf or something. And then when I get home, like 8 at night, I still stay awake till 10 or 11, but that's when I explore and read and
Yeah.
sometimes scroll social media in a good way, and you stay curious. Mine's always racing. But when it's time for bed, I just crash. Like I don't stay up worrying about anything. Like I feel like I had a good day. There's nothing to worry about. I left it all out there. But
Yeah, that's a nice luxury to have. I don't have that sometimes. I mean, I'm better at it, but I'm a oftentimes my wheels turn all night long. I can't turn it off. It's really annoying. It's really, I wonder though, is it like, do I get more done because I do that and I make sure I'm on top of it, or am I just burning energy for no benefit? And I sleep with like a notepad next to me because things pop in, and I learned that years ago. I can't let it go unless I write it down or put it in my phone. It's the same thing to me. But if I don't do that, it keeps just going through and through and through. But I can release it if I write it down. But I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of things that I've been able to solve or deal with or remember, and then or get creative with, or whatever, in those midnight 1 a.m. circles of the mind. But that's maybe 10% of the time, Paul. And the other 90% of the time, I don't think anything's getting done other than me just, burning what could have been productive sleep hours or whatever. So that's a challenge for me. And I don't know if I'll, as long as I have employees and as long as I have responsibility to the degree I do, I don't know if I can turn it off. It's almost like it's I have to worry about it. I have to be on it. And if I'm not, a small mistake for me used to be a couple $1,000s, right? You know what I mean? If I made a small business mistake or something like that. Well, now a small mistake can be tens and tens of thousands of dollars, right? So they become more painful. Um, so I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know if I ever will.
yeah, you won't. I mean,
I think you're
you're not.
right.
I mean, you manage it, right? You get better at it. I don't know if that's necessarily an answer. I used to worry about a ton of stuff with students, and I mean, why? But again, it's not costing me. That's not a monetary thing. That's more of a shaping of the young minds. Like how many kids have I ruined probably being a bad teacher?
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. I would have thought of it the other way, but I guess that's nice that you think about it. That that it's
No,
important.
it,
It's that important because some of us out there, and I'm guilty of this at times, and others I'm not. You know, there's this. Oh, those teachers, they don't care, and I'm sure it's just like, those police officers are all bad, or those, fill in the blanks, they're all this. It's not true. There's degrees, right? And
right.
and it's probably the minority that we focus on. So I'm definitely guilty of that, of having that perspective, not overall, but at times.
No, listen, it's a fact. And at the end of the day, anytime you're helping others or you're owning something or you're building something, there's you could worry about what others think, or you could worry about how you get better. So the worrying I worry about is just I hope I'm doing enough for the students, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but that being said, the superpowers and the fact that I really could care less about my colleagues that don't care or don't try their best, or, you know, try to compare how lucky I am with what I get to do versus what they're stuck in. And I mean that. But yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm glad you're not worrying right now in the podcast.
I'm not.
So so I want to get to the topic today. I mean, we could talk that could have been its own topic, but uh in school, I don't know if you hear this in the business world. In school, and especially in athletics, we hear a phrase all the time when a student or a player, I don't want to say necessarily gets called out, uh, but they're held accountable or they're criticized. Okay. And
Okay.
what they do a lot is they're like, oh, my bad, my bad.
Okay.
And it drives, as a teacher and a coach, it drives me nuts. I know it's your bad. Like, that's why we brought it up. So what should you say instead of my bad? Do you ever hear that in the business world with employees? Like, my bad. Sometimes they follow it up with a sorry, but it's a weird thing with teenagers. My bad. My bad. I got you, coach. My bad.
Almost for you, almost like it's just a way to stop the conversation. I mean, do they mean it in your world? Like, is it just a way to be like, okay, let's move on?
Uh, I think both. I mean, once you get to know people, like I just said, sometimes people say my bad, and then it's like, I got you. And that kind of irritates me too, because what do you mean you got me? I mean, we were just calling out that it's your bad, and now you like got my back. But I think it's their way of saying I'll correct it. But it drives me
Okay.
nuts.
Okay.
But I think
Okay.
most of the time it somehow it became a saying where or a phrase that just
Yeah.
means yeah, 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 I know.
That
And you don't hear that?
No, well, not really. I mean, what I hear is the more, so we have standards, right? You have standards in your classroom, and your
Right.
team has standards, and standards are vital, right? And the more the bigger your growth, right? The more important well, I'd say they're important regardless. But if you in the business in my world, right? We have to have standards for consistency, because that consistency is what our customers expect, right? And maybe in your world you have to have standards. I mean, the school teaching, the sports world's even better. You got to have standards for how we perform and how we practice and how we treat each other, because you're truly, you are a team by definition, right? So standards are vital. And one of the things that we are just constantly trying to do is preach standards and hold people accountable for those standards. And so those standards are um, everyone knows them. They're communicated properly. So, or they should be, and that's what we should all be doing. But look, I have standards for myself. My wife and I have standards for each other. We have standards for our family. There's just standards in anything you do. And what I hear more or less, Paul, that gets to me is this. Well, I'm not meeting the standard, or let's say you're not meeting the standard. You're on my team, whatever my team happens to be. You're not meeting the standard, and I approach you about it. Hey, I'm essentially saying, whatever, Paul, you're not meeting the standard. And what I want to hear is, you're right. Or, I see that. And this is how I'm going to correct it. But what I hear are excuses. What I hear constantly are, well, it's not, well, it's not my fault because, and I believe everything's my fault that happens in my world. I believe everything is your fault, Paul, that happens in your world. Now, which makes you accountable for fixing it. So if someone's not meeting my standard of my business, that's my fault, and therefore I have to get to that person and deal with it. But they have to take accountability and responsibility for fixing it. I can't fix it for them. And if they can't or refuse to do it, then something's got to change. Either they got to go to a new team, or something is going to have to change. But it's my responsibility, my job, to make sure it's fixed one way or the other, because everything's my fault in my world. Now, it's not that sometimes, look, I'm as guilty as anyone. What the heck? How did that happen? We've done everything we can, and it still fell apart. But at the end of the day, you still got to come in and say, hey, look, this is my responsibility. And I don't care if you're the CEO of the most valued company in the world, or you're at the bottom of the barrel, brand new employee just getting started and don't know a lot. Like, there's standards you have to meet, and you're accountable to them. So the thing that drives me crazy that's similar, and this might be their way of saying my bad and I got you, is yeah, I know. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't know. Or if you know, you don't seem to care. But there's a standard here, and we have to meet it. And what I see far too often in many businesses, many businesses, and it's not, I'm not talking about brand new employees or things like that. I'm talking about experienced, high paid employees as well. It's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. And here's why it happened and why it's not my fault. And I don't care about that. I don't know many people, successful people who do care about things like that. Now, look, your grandmother passed away. That's I'm not talking about things like that, because there's always someone who has to come in with well, what about so and so. We all know those things are different. Let's not ruin the discussion by going into the realm of the 0.1% of the reason why these things happen. Look, if your car didn't start, why didn't your car start? Like, I've had my car not start. Why weren't you at work on time? Well, my car didn't start. It's not my fault. Well, yeah, it is your fault. It is your car. You have a responsibility. We have a standard. Paul, someone shows up to your practice half hour late because a car didn't start. Is it just, well, your car didn't start, better luck next time? Or is that a problem?
It's a problem. And listen, that happens, especially with young kids. But what
happened to me?
My response that time, if they seem sincere about it, is I'm like, listen, it's never one time. Okay, I get this today. So what's the plan next time, right?
Bingo.
What's your response to it? If it happens a second and a third time, now we've got a bad habit, or now you clearly don't understand it's my bad, your bad. I mean, like, yeah, like,
I thought you had me. What the heck?
Anybody could be late to something, and
Yep.
I know in theory you never should be, right? I get that. But how they respond, if they take ownership and say, I can't believe my car didn't start. I tried doing this. My dad was at work. I'm like, okay, what's the plan next time?
Exactly.
And then it's better,
Yes, I'm not. I totally agree. It's not that you're even late that's the problem. It's the fact that in this scenario I'm making up, it's the fact that you don't want to take responsibility for it. It's the fact that in your mind, there's no bearing on you of responsibility. What I want to hear is, man, I'm late. My car wouldn't start. I should have known better.
Yes.
I should have left. I should have left look, sometimes it happens, but next time it won't because I'll make sure I leave early. I'll make sure I have a backup plan. I'll make sure one of my teammates can come get me in a pinch and I can get them in a pinch or whatever the case may be. All I'm looking for is a level of it's my responsibility not to be late or not to make the mistake or whatever that happens to be. And in the future, I'll be better because I'm going to think it through so that I have a plan. Doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen because they are. They are going to happen. And that's why it's so obvious that you need to be responsible and have a plan. Everyone knows things are going to happen in life, right? Everyone knows that. So if we all know that, why aren't we planning for it? I had my world blow up this morning in a work thing. And I was ticked at first, Paul. I'm still ticked about it, but I'm ticked at myself. I'm ticked at Matt. I'm not ticked at the people. I could be pointing a lot of fingers right now. I could have made sure that didn't happen today. I could have. I 100% could have. And then after I fixed it to the best I can, you know what I did? I reached out to the team that is involved in it, and I said, "Hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I think could fix it. Here's what I can do, and you give me your feedback so this doesn't continue to happen." Like that's how you have to work on these things. And it's the mindset, Paul, that drives me crazy of the people, especially people who should know better, adults who go, "Well, it's not their fault. It's not my fault." It's like I don't want to be in the room with those people, Paul. Those people, I want to be in the room with I want to be in the room with people who take responsibility and are accountable. And those people, I don't care what you do in life. I don't care what your aim is and what your job is or I love people like that. Those are winners in my mind. Those are people, no matter what they're doing, they could have a penny to their name, they could have zero or less to their name. It's not about that. I'm not talking winners and losers like that. I'm talking about them up here. And it drives me bonkers, the people who won't take accountability. And again, I've done it. I'm guilty of it. But is that who I am? No, I'm not that. And I don't want to be with people like that. I look at myself in the mirror and go, man, that was on me. It's always on me. And if you want to win in life, whatever it is, you better start there. You better start with your standards and being accountable for them. And yes, you're going to have your my bad moments, and you can follow them up with "and I got you." But what the heck? What does that mean? Is that just a conversation stopper so you can just move on and you don't have to listen to Paul anymore? Tell me that that I messed up, or is it really self-reflection?
Yeah, well, there's a lot in all that, and I'll give some examples. Like, so when people say "my bad," okay, they should follow it up with "yes, that's my responsibility," or "yes, I'll do better," or "yes, I'll learn from it," or "yes, I'll have a plan next time." When they say "my bad, I got you," now they're like swooping in to be my hero from their mistake. And I don't understand that. One, I have exceptional students, but they're still learning. Wednesday's college English day, so they'll come in and be late with an assignment or try to use my printer in the morning. In the first week of class, I'll unplug the printer, or if it's jammed, I'll just leave it be. And now they have this huge problem,
Okay.
And the teacher will be like, "Why is your assignment late?" My bad, I know, but the printer was jammed. Or "My bad, but I got to school late." And so then we have a discussion in class like, "Well, why did you try to use my printer?" "Well, it's not my fault my printer at home's broke. It's not my fault we're out of ink. It's not my fault we don't have a printer. It's not my fault I'm in your morning class, so I can't go to school and print it." "Well, it's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility to get the paper. So what can I do to help you?" So similar to what you were saying with your team. "Well, could I email it to you?" "All right, well, we're thinking, I don't want you emailing it to me 5 minutes before class. When could you email it to me?" "Well, could I email it the night before? Or could I email it early in the morning before you get to work?" Absolutely. As your teacher and a leader, if I get to school at 8 a.m., an hour before you show up, and I see emails from students, I can have my coffee. I can just hit click, print, and then I lay them all out for them. But if I do that and I leave and go about my morning duties and you try to email it to me late, yeah, it is your bad again because I tried helping you and you still didn't take responsibility. Does that
Because we
make
had this,
sense?
yeah, because you developed the standard and now it wasn't being met again, right?
Yeah. So all right, what was the plan for next time, right? And it's funny, in smart kids, and by smart I mean students that are used to getting good grades. It doesn't mean
Okay.
it transfers into the work world or taking action or whatever. We've had
No.
those discussions. They can't stand when they're not perfect. And it's so great when we have the opportunity to they miss an assignment and get a zero, or they're late with something. They don't understand why they don't get full credit because back at their homeschool, they would just charm their teacher into it. Oh, they're
Yeah.
the good kids. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's not going to affect anything they do average wise, but they think their whole world's turned upside down. And then you get the opposite of employees that I think are just used to having all sorts of excuses. So it's like sometimes for the smart students, I feel it's like a defense mechanism. But for an employer, I think it's just accepted that they've never been. It's just part of their lifestyle. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm
Yeah.
saying in that last part.
Yeah, no, you look. I have a student in a class I'm teaching right now. Just finished up teaching last week, and this student was an excellent student, and he'd had a hundred average up point. He turned in an assignment late towards the end of the semester, and because of that, I have a late policy, and I'm ruthlessly uh, unflexible with that policy, because I know what it translates to in the real world, and I know what it translates to in people's personal growth, and because in the real world, Paul, look, if you turn your assignment, he turned his assignment in not that late at all. By the way, it was like an hour late. Okay, um, but you know what? Tell that to my customer. Tell that to your customer who's looking for bids on a $250,000 job, and they've got 3 bids coming in or 4 bids coming in, and they have to be in at noon, and you turn yours in at 1 p.m. and see where your bid ends up. It's going to end up right in the trash. Nobody, because what's that tell your potential customer about your ability to get the job done when you say it? You're going to get it done, right? You said you were going to have it in at noon. You didn't. Why would I believe you're going to have the job done on time? Right? And this isn't about one assignment that got turned in an hour late. This is about understanding the real world doesn't wait for you. Although far too many people are trying to tweak the real world to make it wait for them, which is a whole nother topic and a disgusting one at that, in my opinion. But in any case, I said this in this student, I mean, Paul, instead of 100, he's going to end up with a 99.2 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not furious that I wouldn't give him that hour. And I'm glad, because I want that student to wake up and know that the world doesn't work like that. And more importantly, you don't want it to. You don't want it to work like that, because someday you're going to be on the other side of it when someone is promising you that they're going to have your car done in an hour, right at the garage or at noon, but it's not going to be done till 1. And are you going to be okay with that when you got your kids to pick up at school, when you got groceries you got to get, when you got chores, or you got a job you got to get back to? Everyone loves their leeway when it benefits them, but everything's a trade-off, right, Paul? So if that 1 hour is benefiting you, well, there's going to be a time where that 1 hour is benefiting someone else and it's harming you. It's disrupting you. And nobody likes that end of nobody likes that yin to their yang, right? So because that's what it is. That's what a trade-off is, essentially.
Right.
So it's more important to learn the lesson than it is to have the 100 average. And we set standards and we live by them. And I try to do the same with myself. Look, I work out 5 days a week. That's my standard. I don't work out 4. I don't work out 3. I work out 5. And that's what I do. Period. And you know, that's important. That kind of discipline is important.
Yeah, when you say standards, something just popped in my head, and I'm doing a little research on our new setup here.
I was just gonna say.
Matt and I always joke about a fact checker. I just have another laptop next to me now. So, and I got some interesting stuff about my bad that I'll share later. But standards, I use the term when you say 5 days a week, non-negotiables. And my non-negotiables is I wake up, I walk / run 2 to 3 miles a day. I have a push-up weight workout I do for 15 minutes, and then I'm ready to go. Like, why wouldn't I? And I don't touch that on the weekends. It's a Monday through Friday thing.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Same way.
And and I'm not entering any type of Ironman competition soon, and I'm not going to be on ESPN for weightlifting. But those consistent habits let me have fun on the weekends, or even in the Thursday or Wednesday evening after golf, because I consistently do my non-negotiables. You have your standards, and back to my bad. I think people use that because they don't follow a standard. They don't have non-negotiables, and they certainly aren't taking ownership to their behavior. That's why they say my bad.
Yes, and that's why those things are so important, because they go on for the rest of your life. Those are your standards, right? Those are who you become, right? Those are the decisions. Right. And I always tell my daughter, and I always tell younger people, you are your decisions. So make good ones. And your decisions are about setting your standards and the values you have, and all these things align, and about the discipline you have. You know who Jocko Willink is? I don't know if we've discussed him. Okay. So one of the things, and I don't listen to him that much, he's really into leadership, and he's wonderful. He's awesome. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Ton of respect for a man like that. But one of the things that he said that I heard once out of him was discipline equals freedom. And it sounds like, freedom should be not having to do anything, right? Freedom should be the opposite of discipline, but what he's saying is, when you're disciplined, when you have your 5 days a week, you get up and do what you do. Well, then on Thursday night or whatever night, whenever you feel like it, now you have the freedom to do the other things, because you had the discipline to do all the other things up front. That provides you the freedom to do the other things on your terms. And ever since I heard that, I started looking at it in that way. And it just makes sense now. I see the world through that. And the more disciplined I am, or you are, anyone is, in their habits and their standards, I think you're going to have a lot more freedom in a tremendous amount of other areas. And you're going to realize that freedom isn't just willy-nilly running around, do what you want, when you want, anytime you want. That's not really what human beings are built for. That's not truly what makes us happy or finding meaning, as we like to say. So I just thought it was apropos for our conversation here.
No, and that's perfect, because when you have meaning and purpose and discipline, it's going to create a better journey, because you can take those exit ramps, you can take those detours on your own terms, right?
Correct.
Not just 5 o'clock at night when you're done with work, or the weekends when you're done with work. And since COVID, I think this is what you're saying, and I've done a lot to transform myself since COVID. I used it, and I have, quote, 2 years left. I was telling you before I'm allowed to retire, but I have the freedom now where I can teach different and do different and act different, because if they didn't want me there anymore, I'll be just fine. So that discipline during COVID to learn some new skills has created a freedom. I wish I knew it at 25 or 18, but
Paul, what a great example.
It was 2+ years, and I've transformed my future, freedom-wise, choice-wise. Now, I'm going to stay. I might stay longer than the 2 years, because I really enjoy it. But that's still a freedom based on what I did the last 2-3 years compared to most people.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. What a great real world example of what he said. Your discipline has given you a freedom that you wouldn't have had without it, and that is a perfect real world example of it.
Or just say, the discipline's given me the choice. Like, I'm not scared in my day-to-day life of
Mhm.
losing a job or my career because I know I'll be fine. If
Yep.
you know, so it doesn't mean, oh, I have other teacher educator friends can't wait to retire. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? I don't know. Yeah, well, that's a problem.
Yeah, it will be a
Like,
problem. It will
what
be a
are you
problem.
gonna do? And it doesn't have to be something that's making a ton of, but what's your
No,
meaning and purpose?
of course not. Yeah.
Most of them figure it out. So I'm not saying they wander aimlessly,
Yeah.
but to think you're just going to sit by a beach and do nothing all day is, well, I don't think that's happiness.
No, no. And the fact of the matter is, the reality is most people don't have the resources to sit by a
Right.
beach, and even if they wanted to, for the next 30 years of their life and enjoy it, because they didn't create the value on the other end of it throughout the rest of their life to have the resources to do so. Most people don't. There's not a lot of people on a pension who can survive 30 years doing
Right.
truly what they want. And that's something, you know how I feel about that. And that's something I preach to people all the time is, this desire to get out of work as soon as they can so that they can, what they find is they don't have the resources to live the way they really would want to. And it's because they took a shortcut for far too many years of their lives. And that's the trade-off. And hey, that's the way it goes. I don't, I don't
Right.
grudge anyone one way or the other.
You take, again, when I hit close to 50, the plan was to be disciplined in something where I have an exit plan of purpose and meaning, not just wandering around. In the 8 years I've had this job teaching at the New Visions Academy, I've watched you grow exponentially when you didn't have to.
Yeah.
And I bet you yourself 8 years ago, I'm not going to say wouldn't believe where you're at now, because I'm sure you would believe it. But when you look back, you've grown exponentially. I'm guessing you've grown faster than even you thought you would grow, but not at a cost and not at discipline. And,
Yeah, no, I have, but what I've found,
and my bad if I'm wrong. My bad if I'm wrong.
what I've found, and I had this conversation with someone earlier in the week. One of the reasons goal setting is so important is because what I've found, and I think a lot of people do, it's not because I'm special, because I'm not, and I mean that I'm not. Is though when I set goals, I usually accomplish them much quicker than I thought. And when I set them, Paul, I set them what I think is reasonable. I'm not like, oh, let me set this. I want to make an extra $1,000 and I have a year and I have 10 years to do it. Oh, look, I knocked it out of the park. I mean, that's nonsense. It doesn't. I set realistic goals, but I found that you knock them out quicker. And so, no, I'm definitely wouldn't have thought 8 years ago that I'd be where I am today. That said, Paul, I don't take anything for granted. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed me. In the next week, none of it's guaranteed. And that discomfort and anxiety that I get from that fact that's not guaranteed is so inspiring and is what makes the growth possible. That's why I'm so against, I don't know the right word. That's not the right word. The trap of comfort, and it goes back to a lot of industries where it's like everyone wants safety, right? Everyone wants comfort, and not even everyone, myself included, but it's a trap. And I know so many people, Paul, smarter than me, more capable than me, that don't have the meaning, the growth, the experience, the joy of the chase of the process, because all they want is, I got my retirement, I got my safe job. I know that I've in the world of professors, I've got tenure, right? And now it doesn't matter. Well, that's horrible. If you want to grow, if you want to be the man I want to be, that would have killed me. It would have killed my spirit. It would have destroyed me. And I'm so glad I never had those things, because they are they're jail for your mind, and they're jail for your future, and they're jail for your growth. And you think you're happy because you're in them. You're safe now, right? I'm protected. Well, nobody grows in that environment. And that's why I didn't know this going in, Paul. I didn't this wasn't my plan. I didn't think, well, I'm just going to get in this because I'm worried about my personal growth. I wanted to make money so that I could have some level of freedom. The reason I got in isn't the reason I'm in still. It changed. I was wrong about a lot of things. I really was. But one of the things I was wrong about that turned out to be good was I would have been in jail. The mind jail is what I mean.
Right.
I would have
Right.
been in the mind jail of safety. And I know so many people in the mind jail of safety, and it breaks my heart for them because all they wanted was that they think that's what they want. But what I don't think humans really want that. They want what the growth you talk about, Paul, what you've done the last few years, and what you continue to do. And I'm just so happy I never fell into that trap. I could have. I didn't have this wonderful vision and I'm like, oh, I know better than everyone. I did not have that. It just as I got doing what I'm doing, I realized, oh, this is the real benefit. This is the real meaning behind it. So I want people to think through that in their lives. Be careful what you wish for, right? And but with that, Paul, I have to remember that I don't have this level of safety that other people have. I have a lot of responsibility. I have a lot of debt that other people don't have, right? Well, I carry that debt because I need it to grow my businesses and grow my life the way I want to. But I still got to carry that debt, and a lot of people that would make them nervous. So I'm not immune to the trade-offs that happen here. So whatever.
So, you're going to hear somebody say "my bad" in the next 2 days because it's going to be in your head now. You watch.
There's no doubt about it, and I'm gonna maybe I hear it more than I realize. Maybe it's so common I hadn't noticed.
But the yeah, I know is a good one too. So
I feel like that's what I hear.
So again, what we work hard on in our academy is when we hear those phrases, or I hear it as a coach, I say, well, for what? And they don't always have an answer, and then we have a conversation. That's a mindset. We're trying to hold you accountable. That's a standard. Like, what can you do differently next time? What can you learn? How can you be better? How can you take ownership of this? So to me, that's why I brought it up. My bad. I hear it so much. It just grinds my gears.
Well, at the end of the day, Paul, I think everyone wants to be around people who are accountable and people who are reliable. And if your answer is disingenuous, whether it's my bad or yeah, I know, or whatever.
But whatever's used sometimes too. That's more with attitude, though.
Yeah. You're not going to end up probably in the rooms you want to be in. People don't want to be around those. I love being around people who go, that was my fault. I made a mistake. I was at fault. Everyone loves a leader who's accountable, right? Nobody likes a leader who points and says, we didn't meet our goals and it's Paul's fault. Everyone likes a leader who goes, we didn't meet our goals and I'm going to take responsibility for it. I let us down. I didn't carry my weight. I didn't hold the team accountable the way I should have, or whatever example it might be. Those are the leaders people get behind and follow. And whether you want to be one of those leaders or whether you're a follower, and we're all both at times, right? There's times I'm leading and there's times I'm following, and that'll always be the case in different aspects of my life. That's the kind of leader I want to be. And those are definitely the leaders I'm going to follow. I don't need a perfect leader. I don't need someone who knows everything, who has all the answers, who never makes mistakes. There's no such thing. So I need the person who's truly accountable and holds themselves accountable as well. So those are the people we follow. I don't care who has a fancy title, who has a fancy education. Those things are meaningless when in real leadership, right? You know, we all know the real leader. You can put us all in a room and you can give people different titles and accolades and education, but when the crap hits the fan, we're going to follow the person who's a true leader.
Yeah.
None of those other things are going to matter.
No, that's a true champion, you know, and we can get into another podcast, my acronym for champion. Listen, so I'm playing in a pretty prestigious golf tournament this week. It's a best ball tournament. I tee off today, and
Okay.
I have a partner, and I've been
Okay.
thinking about this. We played a match in a practice round 2 days ago, and I didn't play very well at first.
Okay.
We ended up coming back and tying the match, but I'll never. If you had a mic on me today, which would be kind of weird because I don't think you'd listen to that for 4 hours, but you wouldn't hear me when I was playing bad say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "My bad." You'll hear me say, "Jared, I'm trying my best, man. I'm gonna get it next hole or next time.
Okay.
I'm gonna make the putt." And that's a different mindset because your partner knows you're trying. So why am I gonna say "my bad" or "I'm sorry"? Right? I just say, I feel like you're giving yourself a reason to justify why you played bad or why you made the mistake at work. So I'll give you an update of how many times my bad slipped out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Well, it won't because I'm going to play well, so it won't matter.
Where are you playing?
The Elmira best ball.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah,
How many days is it? Is it multiple days?
yeah, you qualify today and then you get flighted. And then starting tomorrow, it's a 16-team tournament.
Really?
So if you win tomorrow or lose, it doesn't matter. Well, it matters because you'll go to the winner's bracket or losing bracket. They call it the beaten eights. Saturday, you have to win to advance to the final four in your bracket on Sunday. So
Okay.
it's a lot of golf. I used to play when I was in college. I was like a hired gun because some older guy with money would pay my entry fee to let me play with them. And now I'm the older guy. And with my
Funny how
kids
that
being
works.
with my kids being done and moving out, I'm just I said, hey, why not? It'll be fun to compete again, you know, but it won't be my bad. So
Yeah,
I'll
well,
keep
good
it
luck,
posted.
all right?
All right, man. Hey, with some neat things coming up. We're gonna have a new intro soon. Uh
Yeah.
we've got our fact checker. I just looked on Google that said the origin of my bad as we know it today came from Dikembe Mutombo. He used to say my bad in broken English.
Is
I,
that
I
right?
I don't even know if that's true. This might be the worst thing that we have this computer here.
Quick trivia. Where you probably know this. Where did Dikembe Mutombo go to college?
Georgetown, right?
Yes, my team, the
Yeah.
Hoya. He was a Hoya.
That's all right, man. Until next time.
All right. See ya. See ya.
Bye.